as I can. Oh, my goodness, my dear friends. It's so good to be here with you. Good morning. So, first of all, to begin. Second of all, it's official. I am now affiliated with the Centers for Spiritual Living, and therefore I am your community spiritual leader. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor. I'm so pleased. He's a brother. I should have told myself at the beginning, si se puede. You can do it, girl. You can. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, we've been having a fun month, right? Because we're talking about anger and fear. Ooh, how far can I go, Jennifer? How far can I go? You'll follow me? Can I go way over? No, I'm just kidding. We're talking about anger and fear, and how fun is that? Yes, I love talking about those kind of shadowy things, as I shared with you last time. And what I want to talk about is, we talked about anger being a messenger, right? It gives us information. So something important needs my attention. Something feels threatened, and it needs my attention. And then Reverend Bonnie came in, and she talked about, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to stop, we're going to look, and we're going to listen. We're going to listen to what is the message. What is it that this danger, this anger, this fear is bringing our way? What does it have to tell us? So what I want to talk about is what happens after we listen. So we hear a message. Fantastic. I heard it. I was scared. I was angry. I stopped. I looked. I listened. And I got some information. Now what? And so that's what I want to talk about today, because fear, and I'm talking specifically about fear today. Fear wants certainty. Fear wants to know what to do. Okay? So the truth is, though, that life doesn't provide certainty. It just doesn't. Life does not provide certainty. So how do we keep living when we can't see the whole road in front of us? When we can't see precisely where we're going and where to turn and what to do? That's what I want to talk about today. When we're in fear and we listen and we hear what might be the direction that we want to go in, what might be the thing that we want to do in response to the fear, and then how do we keep moving when fear, just because we hear doesn't mean that erases fear. Just because we discerned the message that fear had for us doesn't mean that all of a sudden we're skipping. Yay! It's all fine now. No, we can oftentimes still feel afraid. So fear provides, fear's an intelligence just like anger, right? It provides us some important information. Something important to me feels threatened. Something important to me, I'm concerned, might be harmed or lost. That's when I have an experience of fear. And fear wants to provide an experience of safety for us. How does it do that? It predicts the future so that we can know what to do. Now, it's not going to produce a possible future of rainbow and butterflies, because that's not going to keep you safe, right? If I'm afraid, the future that my mind and the fear is creating for me is one that is scary, really scary, so that I can be, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I can take this. I can do it. So when we can't see ahead of us, imagination fills in the blanks, right? And I don't know about you, but when my imagination, my fear starts to fill in the blanks with the worst possible scenario so that I can be ready, that doesn't really inspire me to move in that direction. I'm not feeling like, okay, I can take care of that now. No, it looks scary. And so I'm not really inspired to move. So today we're talking about walking without certainty. Because when fear gives us that scenario, it's not like the actual scenario. right? Trusting the worst case possible is not a reliable truth. Like, oh, fear provided me with this possibility of the most awful thing, and that's probably what's going to happen. We know in these circles that that's not what we want to do. We don't want to think about that and prepare for that. But what happens is that we begin to so prepare for that we want a number of things to happen in the face of that scenario that we've built, okay? So we want to either wait for complete certainty. We want the map. We want to know exactly what's going to happen then. If this is going to be so awful, I need to know exactly what's going to happen. And ideally, if I could twist it around, then I want to have it to be certainly positive. I want to know that it's going to be positive. I want, if I can't have that, I would really like to have a sign, Spirit. I'd like a sign. I'd like it to be really big. I'd like it to be neon, and I'd like it to point me in the absolute direction that I need to move in. Thank you so much, love, Yvette. Right? So, and if I'm not going to get that, okay, I can't have the map of all the twists and turns and all the things that's going to happen, and I can't have the neon sign or the burning arrow flying over my head showing me where I'm supposed to go. Well, then, this is just like this negotiation with the divine. Then, what I would like, Spirit, is the disappearance of any anxiety that I'm having right now in order to move. Before I can move forward in the direction that I feel myself called toward, that I feel is the once I listened and I heard something and I felt like, okay, it's this way. Now I'd like to have all of that angst and fear and all of that go away so that I can then move in that direction. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Hugs and kisses, Yvette. It doesn't work that way. What ends up happening oftentimes is that when we are faced with a fear, and then we have choices before us, and we want to have these things that are done in order for us to move in that direction, is that that becomes an unfulfillable desire, right? We can't know the future. Neon signs aren't going to pop out of the desert for you, necessarily. It's not. I have gotten signs. It's not like it doesn't ever happen. I have gotten signs, but most likely, you're not going to have that burning arrow flashing in front of your face. And all the anxiety might not wash away. So, when we do that, and that doesn't pop up as a possibility, that doesn't come up as a reality for us, we've set out this requirement for Spirit in order for us to move. What ends up happening is that we just lean back into the thing that's least uncomfortable, right? So I'm imagining myself at a crossroads, needing to make a decision, and I'm scared. I don't know which way to go. This way looks really interesting. This way excites me. This way gives me a little goosebumps, and I feel more alive when I look this way. This way I know. I've been down that road. I've actually done that. It wasn't so much fun. It was okay, but it wasn't enlivening, right? If I want to know exactly where this road that looks interesting and brings me to life and feels effervescent, but it's not, all those criteria aren't being met, then I need to know that so then what I do is I go back over here. Well, that's not falling into place. I'm still afraid, and so that must mean that I shouldn't go in that direction. Fear is telling me, nope, honey, don't go in that direction. You're still scared. No! Fear's not the one giving you the answer. We're asking fear to answer our question. Fear is not the one to answer the question. Spirit is. When we discerned, we heard something. And now ours to do is to turn in the direction and be willing to walk even though we can't see. So fear is really good at alerting us to danger. Right? It's really good at telling us when something's being threatened potentially, or there's potential harm or loss. It's really good at that. But fear can't reliably predict the future or choose the road. That's not fear's job. So, I've been at many crossroads in my life. many of them, and they're scary. And I remember being one of the first big ones that I made was at university when I was, going to school, and it was tough because, as I've shared with you before, I'm neurodivergent, which before used to be called a learning disability. Now I prefer to call it neurospicy. I have a different way, and it's really cool. It's different. But in college, that was really tough, right? I've shared this with you. It was a really challenging way, and I would do really well for a couple of weeks because I was on it, but then I'd fall behind and every single time. And maybe I'd pass and maybe I wouldn't, or I'd barely by the skin of my teeth. And so at some point, after doing that over and over and over and having my heart broken, I had to make a choice. I was at a crossroads, and I finally was like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not my road. I want to go down another road. I'm scared. I don't know what to do, but I want to go down another road. Now, here's a really important thing to know. Knowing which road wasn't mine did not reveal which one was. It didn't. It just meant not that way. Not that way. What I was looking for is that sign that said, your life's purpose, this way, 3 miles. It did not show up. And so what ended up happening is that I had a bunch of jobs, a bunch of different things, and some of them were, really boring. And I did, and I was okay at it, but I just wasn't stimulated and I wasn't fulfilled. And others were really hard and I was not qualified for. Get out immediately. Sometimes I said it and sometimes they did. I took many wrong turns. I went up against dead ends, and I kept trying to make different things fit, right? But all the time, I could feel another life calling to me. I could feel something else, and I thought, hey, wait a minute, Spirit. I already was at the crossroads, and I picked, I chose, and I went down the road not traveled, less traveled. Robert Frost, right? The road not taken talks about the road less traveled. Sorry, I got that all confused. But I had this romantic idea about that, taking the road less traveled. I'm an Indiana Jones fan. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's going to be there with my knife and taking down whatever. Not so much the tarantulas and the snakes. I didn't want that. But, I was seeing my city on a hill, and for me it was like the Emerald City. And yes, maybe there were going to be flying monkeys and like a cowardly lion, but eventually, and not in too long, I was going to be in the Emerald City and I was going to get my prize. And that didn't turn out because there absolutely was not a yellow brick road. There was not a yellow brick road for me to follow. So the idea that we might have that we are at a pain point, a fear point, and we listen and we discern, and then we decide to move forward, which is all beautiful and wonderful. I just want to be really clear because sometimes that idea of taking the road not taken or less traveled or whatever, I'm messing it up all over the place, the road less traveled is a little bit of a romantic idea. And it's lovely, but it's a romantic idea. It's not like you're just going to skip and turn. You're going to go around the corner, and there it is. Just a couple of flying monkeys, no big deal. Crossroads stories don't tell the whole story, right? They're only comforting when we're looking at them in the rear view mirror. That's when they're comforting. At that crossroads, we can't see around the bend, no matter how hard we try, no matter how far we lean to look around the bend. And I think that's what Barbara Brown Taylor was talking about in that quote that Belinda shared at the beginning, which to me just stops me in my tracks. Those of us who wish to draw near to God should not be surprised when our vision goes cloudy. This is when we wish to draw near to God, when we're listening to the call of our heart, when we're afraid and we're doing it anyway. We shouldn't be surprised when our vision goes cloudy, when we can't see around the bend. For this is a sign that we are approaching the opaque splendor of God. Oh my gosh, talk about turning it around. Imagine me, I'm imagining myself as a young woman in college trying to make this decision, feeling like this is the way I'm supposed to go because this is what they told me. You're supposed to go to college, you're supposed to have a degree, you're supposed to do this, then you're supposed to get a retirement, and then you're supposed to do the... And I'm like, I can't understand the material you're giving to me, and I can't read it fast enough. What am I supposed to do? And also, I'm really bored with what you're teaching me. For me. And when I saw that other road, the one that called to me, the road less traveled, that looked so exciting, that looked like an adventure, that gave me goosebumps, that I felt calling me, that when we're in those moments of feeling the pull, even if it's just a little bit, what direction is calling to us? What direction is calling to us? We start to go around the bend. If we could begin to see it a little bit differently and not like, holy cow, I can't see and I'm so scared. But instead, that we are approaching the opaque splendor of God, where we can't see anymore. And that's actually intentional. That piece, that journey, that process is important. If we decide to keep going beyond the point where our eyes or minds are any help to us, we may finally arrive at the pinnacle of the spiritual journey toward God, which exists in the complete and dazzling darkness. Wow. Daring to go beyond the bend where we can't see means that we must then lean into something bigger than ourselves, yes? We must. Our senses won't help us. And so when we're at that point and we're scared and we don't know which way to go, we can certainly go down the path that we know. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Guess what? If you got that tap on your shoulder to maybe even look in the direction of that other way, that was a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, it's going to come again. It's going to come again. Because that is something within you that is wanting to be expressed. It might not happen right now, and that's okay. That might not be the moment for you. That's perfectly fine. But how do we begin to walk without certainty in the direction that our heart is calling us, despite fear that we might be experiencing? My map, my friends, if I were to now look back on the map if there was a map that I created from my journey, like, right, Spirit, here's what I want. I want the Emerald City, and okay, a couple of monkeys, and flying monkeys, and maybe a cowardly lion. But if I were to look back on my map now, I would see that it was like, okay, oh no, you were going the wrong way. Turn around. Double back. You need to double back. No, not too. You went too far. Now double back again. Oh, you missed it again, Yvette. Come on. Can you imagine my map app right now? It would just be going crazy. Make a U-turn. Make another U-turn. What's wrong with you? Make another U-turn, right? Double back, and then wander for several years. That was my map. Just wander. Feel aimless, feeling like you're wandering, and hit some dead ends, right? Go to Seattle. Oh, this was all before Seattle. All of that fun was before Seattle. Do all of that in a much grander scale, with wetness and darkness and beauty, but do that in Seattle, and then eventually end up in the Mesilla Valley, back where you started from your first crossroads decision at NMSU in Las Cruces. Here we are. Yay, map. But you know what? If I'd have been asked or told, here's your map, Yvette. Here you go. If we said we want clarity, if I had asked that and Spirit had said, okay, here's your map, I would have said, can I have another map? I don't want that one. That is not the map that I want. Here is the juiciest part, my friends. The road wasn't simply taking me somewhere. The road was making me. It was making me courageous. Every time I had to go down a road I didn't know where to go. Every time I was at a new crossroads. Every time I had to make another decision. It was helping me to learn and become creative. It was helping me to become resilient. It helped me to develop discernment because I had to do it again and again and again and again. And I grew, and it made me into the person that I am. It made me able to begin again. It gave me the ability to say and realize and recognize, oh, this isn't working, sooner than I did at the beginning, right? I went through, in a 4-year degree that I never got, I did 6 years. It took me a little minute. So it was important, right? So when I was walking through this journey, I learned to discern that this isn't working. This isn't working without immediately knowing what all the rest of it is, what would work. I was able to say that. I was able to move without knowing what will work, right? And here's what's really important, because it doesn't sound so much like a sales pitch for walking without certainty. You're like, Yvette, you're not selling this. I didn't arrive at a perfect Emerald City. I didn't. Right? I love you guys. I love being home. This is a wonderful time in my life, but my life isn't perfect. My life is not perfect. I still get very scared. I still get super annoyed and cranky. Sorry, honey. And cranky. And I feel uncertain a lot of the time. Even more so now. Hello, community spiritual leader. You are in charge. I feel really uncertain sometimes. And I still have days where I have no idea what I'm doing. But I am deeply in love with my life. And I am deeply in love with the person that I am in my life. And that came from the journey that made me. That came from moving into the darkness where I couldn't see and where I couldn't navigate on my own, where I had to trust the divine that was moving me, that was taking me down this road and back again, that I felt I was wandering and going in circles. That made me and created me into a person who finally came to a point and says, I adore my life. It's not perfect. It's wonderful, though. I couldn't have ever mapped this life. I couldn't have ever imagined this destination. I had my Emerald City on a hill in my mind and what that looked like and what that felt like. And I had no inclination at that time in my life what deep satisfaction would really feel like and what it would look like lived. When we are in fear and we don't know whether to move in a particular direction, the invitation that I make to you is to remember that when we move beyond what we can see, we enter into that opaque splendor of God, where we are not driving ourselves. And that is the magic. Not every road leads exactly where we hope, but it often takes us someplace better. Something wonderful is still unfolding. Something is still becoming possible within us. So for you, I ask you, where in your life right now are you waiting? Where are you waiting for a map? Where might you be waiting for some certainty? For the neon sign? Your next move that way, 3 miles. Where are you wanting to know? I thought faith would reveal the correct road and assure that it led somewhere wonderful. But faith is not certainty. taking the steps of faith, fear to faith, does not mean that you overcome fear in order to have certainty. That is not the deal that we're talking about. Oftentimes we think if we do a thing, right, if we follow our faith, then the money will arrive or the relationship will remain. Everyone will approve of us. We'll be loved unconditionally by every person that we interact with. But faith is not a guarantee that the road ends at our personal emerald city. It is not a guarantee. And of course, outcomes matter. I'm not brushing over that. Of course, when we want something, it's in our heart. And disappointment is real, right? Rejection, failure, and loss hurt. Faith doesn't ask us to deny that when we're in that fear to faith movement. Faith loosens the belief that our well-being depends entirely upon the outcome. When we are in fear and we move with faith, even if we can't see, it loosens the belief that our well-being depends entirely upon the outcome. Because we often ask our outer outcome to give us an inner experience, right? So if I have enough money, then I'll feel abundant. If I have a secure relationship, then I will feel loved. If I have approval or success, then I'll know I belong and have worth. If I make the right decision, then I'll feel peaceful. The outcome may help us experience these qualities, but those experiences are not the source of those qualities. Do you hear me? Those experiences are not the source of the qualities. We do not have to postpone our highest expression until circumstances cooperate. I'm waiting for it to be right. For what? You already are the joy, the peace, the abundance, the love of the universe right here and right now. Walk with the confidence of the divine. You have it in you. Faith does not always tell us where the road leads. Faith changes how we walk while the road is still unfolding before us. Not like this. Oh, I can't see. I don't know where I'm going. I am a child of the divine. And I walk with faith knowing that within me is the joy, the abundance, the creativity, all that I need. That is how I walk on this road that I cannot see, down this path that I do not know, that I have never been down. And we walk differently. Your true nature is the essence of spirit within you now. That is who you are now. We walk in partnership with the intelligence of the universe. Some people say, oh, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Or God never gives us more than we can handle. Right? And I understand those sayings. They help people. They help us. But there's something in it, right? Like, oh, God never gives us more than we can handle. I'll cross that bridge. What do you think the bridge is made of? That bridge is made of the intelligence, the genius, the wisdom of the divine. And you are walking in it every single step. And who do you think you walk with and as? You walk with and as that divine presence expressing as you. Walk that path. Walk it. Sorry, I'm seeing myself on a catwalk. Like, ooh, I can't quite do that yet. Walk it. Walk it with confidence. That opaque splendor that becomes that dazzling darkness is the essence of who you are. Fear is real. Fear is scary. But the divine presence that is in you is bigger than all of that. Lean into it. Remember, the map that you are walking will look wackadoodle. You don't want to know. But it will get you to the most magnificent places that you have ever been. Let's pray. And so I invite you to close your eyes or lower your gaze as we remember the power and presence of God that is right here and right now, that has been in this room, that has been in the air, that has been in every cell of every person who can hear my voice from the beginning. From the beginning, the essence of spirit, the vibration of the divine, the creator. Imagine the most splendid thing. The most splendid thing. For some reason, I've got a little tiny frog in my mind. The most splendid thing. That presence of spirit, that genius, that beauty, that wonder is, that energy of it is right here. And as I remember that, I know that the divine is present, not just on the other side of the journey. It is in every step of the journey. And indeed, it is amidst and infused in the fear itself. Because there is no outside of God. Everything that we experience, everything in existence is within God, within the universe. And so even the fear is made up of the genius of spirit. And so I know that as we walk into this week and we have revealed to us all the places where we might feel scared and perhaps a little bit stuck, that we remember we are never alone. And that indeed every step we take is infused with the divine from our foot to the ground beneath us, whether that step is illuminated or not. And as we dare to move forward, as we dare to be courageous and move forward, and step into that dazzling darkness, we allow ourselves to unite with that one power and presence that is our source. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to remember that this is the truth of who we are, that this is the beauty and splendor of this journey, and that we do it together. So from this place of absolute gratitude for this teaching, for this philosophy, for knowing that my word is powerful, I take this word and I surrender it. I fling it into the law, knowing that it is done, and it is done now. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.